Yeah, hello, I'm Eric DeGolier. I'm the CEO of Body Rocket. I'm joined today by Matt Hutchings, who's our head of sales and marketing, and we'll be your host today. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to join us for this exciting webinar. It's a privilege to be hosting two icons of the sport, Kristian Blummenfelt and Gustav Iden. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here, and it's also good to be able to chat a little bit about testing and aerodynamic and training and the future.
Yeah, it's been a great journey with you guys. So very excited to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you for being here, guys. So just to give you a little bit of a run through of how this sort of hour session will go, we'll kick things off for the first half an hour with an open conversation with the guys, reflecting on last season, the off season they had, preparations for this race season, and of course, a fantastic start they've both had to this year's race season, and the hopes of carrying that on, of course, into the remainder of the race year. And then we'll dive a little bit into Kristian's investment into the company before opening the floor to a live Q&A. So there is at the bottom of your screen, if you're on the Zoom page still, a Q&A button. So feel free to submit as many questions as you like. At the end, we will, with whatever time we have remaining, try and go through as many questions as we can. So any questions that come to mind, be it now or as we talk, please do put them in there and we'll do our best to get through as many as possible. But yeah, again, thank you for being here. Looking forward to speaking to the guys further.
And keep those reactions coming.
Exactly.
So, guys, you both had very different journeys coming into the season. Kristian coming back from two long course from the Olympics, of course, and Gustav, you've come back from quite a bit of trouble with injury. So now that you're back racing Ironman distance, how's that transition felt?
It's been in one way it feels like we still have the experience we had after Tokyo, because all the way, if we look back into 2021, we didn't do any aerodynamic testing at all, and then straight on from there, trying to take over the first 2 years of long distance focusing. Then we were like really trying to go into aerodynamic and getting the CDA number as low as possible, sort of doing everything and basically a window of a few weeks, and did tons of learning there, and then moved over to focusing on Paris again, tried to bring the learnings we did on the TT bike into the road bike, and now it's like in a transition of trying to use what we learned going into the 2022 season, 23 season, and sort of jumping across and getting ready again, not just for a flat course in as we're having in Kona, but both finding the sweet spot between the CDA number and the POW number, and really trying to put all those numbers combined. And it's a challenging one, because it's not like you can just look at one number or the other. Like it's really trying to find the sweet spot. So did a testing round in Sierra Nevada before we went to Oceanside and Texas, where we had 2 days doing some, both using like having a little bit more maybe ideas of what we wanted to test and which position we wanted to move into, and then trying to figure out like how can we get a stronger and more solid position without compromising on the CDA numbers. So like for my part, it was more like how much does it cost if I'm lifting myself up? How much can I get up, and how much can I get further back again and get a better balance on the bike without getting punished on the CDA numbers. And that's been really interesting journey. And also being able to ride in that position both in Oceanside and Texas, and getting more time again on the bike and in position, and also trying to feel how that's impacting like over time. Because one thing is like going in, like typically we're doing like an aero testing, and then finding a position that feels good straight there, but then like it takes time to find the optimal position.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a good new challenge this year, and been an interesting journey to go on with you. Gustav, you have had a new bike to get used to as well.
Yeah, so last year I got the new Trinity with the disc brake. I've been a huge fan of the rim brake for a long time, but I realized the trends are catching up with me, and I'm now also on the disc brakes. which is going to be a huge advantage in Nice. Like it's nice and clean and aero with the rim brakes, but when the course is challenging as Nice will be, it is obviously better. But yeah, last year I ended up in a position that was purely about aero for Kona, and that was mostly because I didn't have any power on the bike to push anyway. I had some, like, the human mind is incredible. You can trick yourself into believing in stuff that's yeah, it's a dream. And going into Kona, I had some days where I thought this can actually be okay. And with my like aero optimized position, I thought that it could hold up. But in the end, aero isn't everything. It's a huge part, but you need a sweet spot between aero and comfort. And yeah, it's just like a lot of things there. So this year I radically changed my position. It's much closer to what it used to be a few years ago. But yeah, as Kristian said, we did some testing up in Sierra Nevada, and this position, especially with a new helmet from Giant, that it's much wider than the old one, it is very fast. And yeah, I do really enjoy the lower position, and to be able to test that with the body rocket has been amazing. So yeah, it's been good changing my bike and changing position and just having fun with aero testing, because that's what I like with body rocket. You can do fun things, because if you go in a wind tunnel, the time is very limited and all the staff is waiting, and it's just like a huge wheel and you are very time constrained. But as we did in Sierra Nevada, we just had fun with it, because yeah, the body rocket means that you have more time, and yeah, so it was good.
Yeah. We found that with amateurs as well, as we're getting out with more and more athletes, it's often good to just give people half an hour or an hour to just play and move around and use the live data, and help that sort of build the view of what they're going to do when they get a little more structured with the testing. I think the playing and the structured is nice to have both. And when you have more time and you're working it in between your workouts, yeah, you just have more time to do that. So, Kristian, your win in IRONMAN Texas, obviously a big moment. We can't forget you are the European Ironman champion, so it's not like you didn't have success last year, but you had some fueling issues, and obviously very quick transition from several years on a road bike back over to the TT bike. How did you prepare differently, and what have you taken away from this win?
Yeah, so to be honest, I didn't take too much away from the win. Like I was sort of, it was a big field, and I knew that the run shape would be fine, and I was also solid in shape going into Oceanside. So it's obviously a confident booster. But another thing, I wasn't put under pressure on the bike in the same way as I'm expected to be in Frankfurt. It was like in Texas, we were maybe 15, 20 guys, and great condition, and we were on the highway, and by staying sort of in 12, 15, 17 meters between each other, it was quite a large pack coming off the bike together. So the good thing is there, like I felt quite strong when I started to run off the bike. So that was like completely different to Kona, but also the fact that I will be put under more pressure, I think, by Magnus Dittle, especially in Frankfurt, is giving me a different challenge. But yeah, it's going to be, I think a lot of the learnings I will take is more how I'm able to ride on the bike in training compared to Gustav in like technical sections. Like when we're going to Fontainebleau, like how well will I be able to stay in the aero position in the turns and stuff, and how will the balance be there without compromising on the aerodynamic. So that's going to be more sort of crucial learnings than the Texas win. But of course, like it was nice to feel that my body was responding well and doing well in the heat.
Perfect.
Just
And
validation of what you believe in you. Sorry.
And Gustav, your podium at Oceanside showed a return to form. What did you take away from that race heading into the rest of the race season?
Yeah, it was good. obviously Kristian had kind of like a better race, but a flat tire, as I also experienced in Texas, doesn't help. I had some good showings in Texas as well, but some annoying mistakes, or not mistakes, but a tire that I had to stop 3 times to get right, and just opening way too fast on a run didn't help me towards the end. But yeah, Oceanside was good, and I think especially one of the learnings that I can push hard if I want to on the bike, and still run decently. And also comparing power data to the others, that my position is really efficient. That's one of the learnings. It's always fun to be talking to the other athletes after the race and see their experience. And my power is usually quite low, but surprisingly low actually on this one compared to a lot of them. So that's always fun. I feel like a lot of amateur athletes, they always brag about having as high number as possible. For me, it's like cool to have as low power as possible and high speed. That is my dream, because one thing that I am really thinking is cool, especially about bikes, is the efficiency. How efficient is the bike as a machine, and how quickly can you get from A to B without using the energy? So especially riding here in Bergen, we have a lot of challenging mountains and corners, and just try to be as fast as possible in training, while at the same time just going easy is something that I really, really like. So that was fun.
It's cool to push. It's cool to push high power if you're riding by yourself, but if you're riding in a group, then it's cool to stay with your group but doing significant lower power. So it's almost like irritating when if I'm doing 320 watts for the Ironman pace and feeling strong and solid, and then he's at significant lower numbers behind, even though he's like 15-20 meters behind. So then I just have to think, okay, how can I get even more aerodynamic in the same position to get closer?
Yeah, there's this focus on taking in as many calories as possible, but if you're not burning the calories, then you don't have quite those demands as well. So helps with that balance.
Absolutely.
So we're going to dive into some specific Body Rocket questions, but for people who don't know, Body Rocket gives live aerodynamic data while you're riding, and that's combined with power and biomechanics, not only making aerodynamics easier to test and understand, but for the first time, giving you all the information you need to perfectly balance aerodynamics with power and comfort, as we've already been talking about a bit, to get that thing that we all want, which is maximum speed for our entire event, no matter what your preferred event is. Body Rocket's the only device in the world that directly measures aerodynamic drag force on a bike, and both the full aero system and our standalone power meter, which is always upgradable to the full system when you want, are available for pre-order on our website now. We still have a few spots left for our July delivery.
Perfect. So I guess firstly, it'd be great to find out from you both, before you obviously started working with Body Rocket for the last 2 years, how you would have gone about aero testing, and what's the biggest difference been from back then to now?
We did. Okay, Gustav.
I take it then. Going into Tokyo, we had 2 rounds, I think, at the velodrome. One quite early on and one quite late into the event. And the velodrome is, for me, better than the wind tunnel. We are also been to the wind tunnel. In the velodrome, you have at least movement on the bike, and you feel like you can ride as you would normally, and you have like the sense of speed and everything. But of course, you need access to a velodrome, and you need either indoor velodrome or kind of controlled weather, especially if you're doing multiple days. If you do one session, then the weather usually don't change that much. But yeah, you need like conditions that is testable. And for the wind tunnel, it's even worse. Then you're set up on a turbo that is so stiff that you're not like riding your bike, you're kind of sitting on your bike, and you have to hold your position exactly, which of course when you're testing outside, it's beneficial to do it exactly as well. But with Body Rocket, we're not testing, we're testing like a rideable position. So of course if you have a position that is not fixed, then that's what you're testing, kind of. But in a wind tunnel, I never felt comfortable, and as I mentioned previous, also the time constraint is always there, and you have to be super efficient because it is expensive, it's a lot of people, and it's just yeah, it's like a stress moment. So yeah, I would say velodrome is pretty fun, but also you need a velodrome and some good conditions.
And yeah, it is still, you have to travel to it, and yes, that's sort of if you have a velodrome, you're not at your altitude camp, you're sort of away from the training that you're doing. One of the stories I like to tell is when we first met you guys, we actually met Kristian and Olaf in a wind tunnel, and spent 8 hours working with the guys, showing them our equipment, and actually doing live sort of head-to-head our readings versus the wind tunnel. But Kristian was there working with a new cockpit that was all custom built for him, tested very fast. And 6 weeks later, we watched you win your first Ironman World Championships in Utah, and it was on a stock cockpit. And do you want to tell the rest of that story, Kristian?
Yeah, so I think that's so we during that winter, that was like the first sort of year where I was like fully committed to going into long distance, going into both St. George World Championship and Hawaii and the Sub 7 project. So then it was like, okay, how much can we cut off the time by really investing into the wind tunnel? So over a short period of time, I had 5 full days in the wind tunnel. That's 40 hours in the wind tunnel, and you were joining me for either the first or second block of testing, and we then sort of we're playing around, but we didn't see much like difference in the CDA numbers in the beginning. But then we came like the more we lifted up and the more like stretched out I came, the suddenly like the CDA numbers were dropping, and I was like, as I was riding there on the locked bike, like the bike was like stuck without any movement, I was always saying, yeah, it feels okay, like. But then I never had any like gust coming towards me or anything, so I was like riding in a similar position in training between the wind tunnel testing and as I was waiting for the 3D printed cockpit to be made. And I got the cockpit, I think 2 weeks before the World Championship in St. George, and as I was like putting it on and trying to ride it out in the course, I just had no chance of staying in the position. Like I felt so scared in the downhill, and the balance on the bike was just I just felt like even on the straight like line, I felt sort of so many times I just had to get out of the aero position and just be riding basically in the base bar instead. So the learnings there were just that I can't use the feeling if it's rideable in the wind tunnel. I need to go outside and do the testing there, to understand like how it's getting impacted by the wind, how I'm able to keep the balance, and also what's the actual CDA numbers. Because one thing when you're in a wind tunnel and you're being told, okay, you have to look at that line, like try to look 15 meters ahead. That might give you one result if you always look 15 meters ahead. But then if you go out on the road and you suddenly tilt your head up a little bit further up because you want to see the rider in front of you, or see the corner, suddenly you're getting again completely different CDA numbers, which will also impact what sort of helmet you should use, which how the suit should be designed. So all of those things is more accurate when you're going out in the condition that you're racing at. So actually in St. George, I was struggling so much with the position I had that the week before I went over to Gustav's spare bike and just took off his part and basically just went into a very safe position that I felt was rideable, and that was also the position I ended up winning the race with. So there I basically spent 40 hours in the wind tunnel with getting a very expensive experience, which could have if I just had the system from like the body rocker system that I could bring out in the field, I could get the same experience for a significant small part of that total price.
Yeah, and you get your 40 hours of training back too.
Instead of just in St. George, you're like, Gustav, feel his bike. How do you feel? And then I did try it, and I am a more like comfy rider than Kristian. I can handle a bit more, but yeah, it was challenging. And St. George also, some parts of the course is pretty gusty, like it would be in Kona as well. So it was definitely a good decision, but yeah, expensive learnings.
But that's
And I
also
guess
been a
sorry,
part,
after
a
you,
part
Kristian.
of the testing we have done. Like even though we had doing a lot of testing out in the field now, like going into Kona as well, it's I think the learnings we have done is also that we also need to have an idea of what's the pros and cons with the different positions, and they're also over time, like I feel myself that I've kind of got like an understanding of what's the consequences of going further forward. Okay, it doesn't do much with the CA numbers, then it's maybe better to be bringing it back again to get a better balance, and also what's the consequences of pulling the saddle forward. Will that impact the quads more than the hamstring? Sort of seeing the full picture and not just the CDA numbers. And the more you can test, the more you can sort of put all of those data into an understanding of what's actually the best position.
Perfect. And I guess over the last 2 years, we've been with you at a number of training camps in Europe, in the US, in your hometown. Are there any specific experiences using the system that stand out for you in terms of testing or collaborating and using it outside to get your insights?
I think especially the fact that we were testing the different stem lengths and finding out that both more narrow and also like the longer, especially bringing it further forward on the road bike, was making a huge difference on the propel. And combined with the few days we did in Sierra Nevada testing the stem length, and also how we were able to improve the surpass racing suit for Paris by such a big margin as we did, was maybe like the big like wow factor for me. Like seeing how we can how the system were able to do the readings. Like if we were putting some turbo layers on the shoulders, how it was actually able to see like, oh, they were actually gaining or saving 5 watts, and then when we took it off again, I lost 5 watts again, and when we put it on again, I was back again 5 watts quicker. To see that the readings were so accurate from every rounds was quite impressive.
Yeah, that's a highlight for me as well. That was really fun. So, so the overall context of that, we actually hosted you guys in the Silverstone wind tunnel in late 2023 when you were doing that switch, and we had some time. We were doing some development there. So you had already found a position in a wind tunnel on that bike, and then in those sessions with you, we saved an additional 3.5 minutes at your race pace over 40 kilometers with additional changes to the stem length, as you mentioned, which was incredibly huge. But then also just, yeah, shocking. I think 1.5 minutes of that was the turbulators, the seams. And Matt was scrolling through some pictures before. That was a really cool project. We worked with Core and we worked with Surpass to help you develop your Olympic suit. I think the first time that I'm aware of an Olympic suit's been developed entirely out of the wind tunnel to be aerodynamic as well as cooling. And so, yeah, it was a really cool project for us.
And for those testing, we're actually just doing it around our running track as well. Like every place is having their own running track, and like every town is having a running track. So we were just doing like I think it was like 10 minutes each rounds, where I was doing first 5 minutes up in the hoods and then 5 minutes in the in the um, in the base bar, or like further down, and having 2 different positions and switching first 5 in one and the second 5 in another position, and then doing those small changes, and to see, yeah, that I can actually do those testing basically everywhere, and also in the future you can do it out on a normal on the normal session on the road, is really bringing that you can do air testing everywhere.
Yeah, that's been working with you guys has just been really beneficial with us for a lot for that reason. You really push us and challenge us because of the Olympics. That the rules got strict, right? We couldn't take you away from your training sessions. We had been coming and visiting you and bringing you down to Granada outside of near Sierra Nevada to do some testing where there was a little bit more favorable roads. But yeah, we that option got taken away, and all that was left was this running track, which I'll admit I was skeptical about, but amazing results, and we're able to carry that on then into your next training camp in Font Romeu as well. You ran every day, you swam every day, and it allowed the team to keep developing that suit pretty much up until the homologation date for the triathlon suits in June. So yeah, again, unprecedented. So really, really cool experience.
Yeah, thank you for those insights. Are there any other examples or changes or decisions that you have been influenced by using the system in the camp? So, you know, different positions you might have adopted for Kona. I know that was quite a big one and a bit of a talking point, as well as some of the apparel that maybe you might have used for this season or previous.
The most recent one was the bottle cage placement on my frame. So I usually had two behind the saddle, and my position, or like the Kona position, was very stretched out, so I could have the bottles behind here. It was a cool project. In the end, it didn't turn out that well, not only because I didn't finish Kona, but because the comfort of the whole thing wasn't that nice. But I really enjoyed the process of 3D printing my own stuff. But now, together with Sam, a bike fitter in and the Body Rocket team, we're testing in Sierra Nevada, and we had some, not issues, but where should I place my bottles? It's like, it's a game now, almost. You see a lot of different athletes place them all over the bike, and with stricter rules, it's also more difficult to place them freely. And in my position, that's quite low, and my arms are stuck together. I have no rooms over the arms because my helmet is there. So luckily, we had some spare long bolts, and I just put them in where the bento box was, took away the bento box and put a bottle there. And that was a surprisingly big saving. It was actually pretty insane how much that saved me. And a lot of athletes wanted the thing down the jersey, not allowed anymore. So I think this is, it's not even a compromise. This is like just all around the best solution. It's of course very rider dependent, but that's maybe the biggest saving I found over the testing that's not involving directly fit.
And I love that story because it's more playing, isn't it? You guys literally were just like, oh, how can we put a bottle here? We've got some bolts. We'll sort of stand it off. And so, yeah, just sort of spur of the moment. We had to learn a lot during the suit design about how do we place features on a suit without them falling off. Like, how do you prototype in the field? And this is just another example of that. You're out there, you're faced with the problem in the moment, and you just solve it right there, which is just love that. Anybody can do that.
And I also did between the arm bottle placement, and for me it was actually slower to have like bottles there, and that's probably because I'm having like a more closed chest as well, so it's then probably blocking the whole airflow. So for me, I had to put the bottles behind the saddle instead to be neutral in terms of the savings there, or in terms of the bottle replacements.
Yeah.
So I remember,
but that just drives home how personal this is. You can't copy everybody's where to place the bottle game. You have to kind of figure out what works for you.
Yeah, being out in the field and telling Kristian, because that's also a big benefit of Body Rocket, that it's you get the data quite fast after the run. So telling Kristian how much I saved with this bottle, and then him trying the same and just losing watts. That for me, that was a bit funny. For Kristian, maybe not so much.
I'm just trying to tell myself that I'm naturally fast with the chest.
I think there's something to that.
I guess building off those comments, it'd be great to get both of your thoughts around whether you feel Ironman as a whole, racing has changed in the last 2 years around obviously the importance of each discipline, also your training and race strategy going into it, and how we might have played a part in it, but also the wider picture around the entire race scene within Ironman as well. It'd be great to get your thoughts.
I think the new thing now, due to the Pro Series, and it feels like it's almost more professional arm distance athletes racing, that makes the field size to be way larger. And suddenly it's like, as in Texas, it was maybe 65 professional male racing together, and it's like limited for how large separation it will be between the groups. So suddenly, like we were maybe 20 guys in that first pack, or if you can call it a pack, when you're like 15-ish meters between each other. But suddenly, like it's a big savings to be further back in the pack, and then to be able to find like a position that can both be strong there, but you can also have like enough power to be able to stretch out the field. So you need to understand when you should put down the power and when you should be sitting back and saving power, and looking at how the wind conditions are. Based on that, is definitely impacting the race more than I think it did before.
So now,
Before,
I guess, you don't look at the same as like a 4-hour power, maybe as they did before. Now you need maybe like a 20-minute power, because yeah, if you're behind, maybe stay with the pack a little bit and then surge to get another pack. So it's not drafting, but it's still, we're racing with a race ranger, and even with 12 meters, it is still a pack dynamic. So yeah, as Kristian said, I think that's maybe like what's changed, that you don't have the same like 4-hour power. You need like more punchy position, stronger like punchy position, and then also be able to relax and ride the pack a little bit more.
Perfect. There are a number of people in here. Maybe, I know you said obviously the Pro Series, the number you're competing against is growing, but it'd be great to get your insights, obviously looking ahead for the World Championships. Where do you see areas for improvement for you both going forward? I know I'm intrigued by this question, and I'm sure most of the people in here also are as well. So yeah, what will be the focus going forward for the World Champs?
I feel I'm sort of halfway through that process now, as we started in Sierra Nevada, to find a position that is easier to control the bike. So like I'll be moving myself further back on bringing the saddle further back, myself further back, and also to find a position where I can be riding in the aero position better in the climbing. So like in Nice, it's maybe a 30-minute hill, and then it's 3-4 minutes sort of flat riding, and then it's another 20 minutes or so hill. So it's almost 50 minutes where I expect the power to be close to threshold than typical Ironman race pace. So it's going to be important to find a position that's where I'm very strong power wise for an hour, and then I can settle into the rhythm when I'm getting onto the top and being very smooth in the turns and being able to just be relaxed. I think that's going to be crucial to keep working on, and also finding a way where I can really have a good strong position on the pelvic.
For me, I'm I'm not happy with my bike, but I'm happy position wise. What I will need to focus on for the Ironman is the run. I'm not near where I used to be before, just because of injury and less run training. So that's my main ambition now, to lift up the run. Of course, the bike is not a transport in Nice. You can do a lot of damage, but I think I'm not afraid of the course. I'm more afraid of like how hard do I dare to ride. I think I can ride with most of them if I want to. The question is if it's smart and how the tactic should be. So just building general fitness and trying to get some more Ironman experience in Frankfurt, and then run like a maniac when Nice comes. So that's the ambition now.
And I see someone asked a question about the helmet, why I'm using the old Giant helmet and not the new one. And that was because the testing we did in Flagstaff with the forward leading position, I was testing the same with both of the helmets. And because it was then having more, I felt like cooler in the face by using the old helmet with the Oakleys rather than having the visor in front. But I think now with the new position, it might be a different result. That's also something we will do testing the next time. And the only thing, I didn't bring the new helmet to Sierra Nevada, so I couldn't test it. Even though Gustav was having the helmet, he's having like size super small, and I wasn't able to put it on my head.
So I have the helmet here now, and as you can see,
You find it.
actually, or I didn't do it, Body Rocket actually cut the visor on my request, and I had the full visor and now the cut visor, and it was basically no difference. But the airflow having the cut visor, it's such a big difference. A lot of these TT helmets have no ventilation at all, and when I had a full visor, this helmet was cooking. It was too warm, and that's also influenced Kristian's choice. But when the visor is cut, it is actually a very comfortable helmet. And it looks very stupid, but I do ride it a lot also training alone because I just love the forward visibility compared to a normal helmet and glasses on. So yeah, it's a helmet I use a lot and it's very comfortable, but you have to cut the visor.
Perfect. Thank you for the insight, guys. I guess last one from myself. Obviously, we've been working alongside you guys for 2 years now. You've had that real-time aero data, the performance data off the back to make decisions. Do you see it becoming standard for top athletes across the field in triathlon, starting to use this technology going forward?
Definitely. Like it's like you're having the power meter maybe 15, 20 years ago. Like it comes into the market and it gives you such a huge advantage to understand the cost of the different position and how to stay aerodynamic. And also you can get like one position, but then you can also learn how to be more efficient in that position. Like I'm not as Gustav maybe who feels the position more to get like smooth, but I'm more power based. But you can actually, when you can get those numbers put in front of you, and you can see that okay, if I'm actually trying to squeeze the shoulders in and in the front and getting more narrow, that's actually saving me 18 watts. Then I can it's easier to also to do it when I'm breathing at max and really pushing hard power. So just to have those numbers in front is making it easier to be more efficient out on the road.
Cool. Okay. Just before we cut to questions, wanted to go over, Kristian, you've just chosen to invest again in Body Rocket off the back of your own experience and the potential you have, as you alluded to, your potential you see to help triathletes and cyclists at every level. So just a couple of questions around that. So you've taken it a step further by personally investing. What gave you the confidence to support it, not just as an athlete, but as a business opportunity?
It's really to see where it's come so far compared to how it was in the very beginning, both when we were in the wind tunnel. I think it was actually, this is the 4th year we are working together now, and to see how it's been just getting more and more precise, how it's been easier to just take it out. I can basically do the whole testing process myself, and to see how much I've been gaining with the equipment and the position and everything I've been working on. It definitely feels like it's going into the right direction, and I just can't wait to all the equipment to be put together so it's like waterproof that I can use it out on my daily training. So it's just around the corner really, and yeah, it's been a great journey to be a part of, and also the fact that I've been getting to know the team more as well and understanding how dedicated you all are into yeah, making it to a product that will be out in the market. It's been yeah, impressed by.
Thank you. We love doing it. It's an honor to be able to work with you. So you are famously use all the technology that you believe can help you move forward. What is it about the Body Rocket system specifically that made it stand out to you compared to other technology and performance tools that you've come across?
Well, it's basically, it gives me information that I can't feel myself. Like in one way, like if I run on a track, I can just take the splits myself, but to swap out a jersey, or as they were doing testing on last week, by putting on the tape, either like riding without tape on not my cuff, but on a rider's cuff, and put like it on the front and put it on the side and put like zigzags on the side, and how you can get information where the one thing is saving you 1 minute of the Ironman course. It's something I'm not even close to have. Oops, sorry. Am I back? Someone called me. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not, it's
you're
something I'm not. It's something I'm not even close to be able to feel myself. So I need that number, and also how precise it's correlating between the different rounds. Like the fact that we can put on like a tape on the shoulder at one placement, and we can see no results. We can move it further down, and we suddenly see that, okay, if we would do it 8 centimeters further down, it's saving me 7 watts. And when I do it even further down, it's maybe no different at all. And then when we bring it back again, it's then saving me the same. So every time we go back to baseline, it's giving the result that is correlating well to what we did last week, 2 weeks ago, or in a different location. So actually to see how precise it is.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, this is not a public raise in the sense that you won't be able to see us on the main page of Crowdcube or any other sort of crowdfunding site. But to celebrate following the news that Kristian is reinvesting in us this round, we are opening an exclusive opportunity to become an investor in the company and to be part of that journey with us and Kristian going forward. This will be available to our existing followers and to everyone who is attending the webinar here. We'll provide you with more information on how you can take up that opportunity in an email that we'll follow up with tomorrow. So we open up to questions.
Yes, let's do it. There were a number that have come through, so a little bit of a quick fire for you guys. Some maybe a little bit shorter than longer. There are a number around. Obviously, you guys have had really strong off seasons. There's a lot about body composition in terms of fat percentages. Are you leaner? People wanting to understand maybe what you've done slightly different, maybe from a nutritional standpoint. So I guess, yeah, have you sort of opted? Have you focused primarily on sort of fat percentage, becoming more lean? There's a fair number of questions in the chat around this.
This is for you, Kristian.
Yeah, I thought it was for me. You tried to direct it to both of us to be kind, but I don't know percentage what my body fat is. We might do a DEXA scan next week or after Aix-en-Provence, but yeah, maybe 6 kg lighter than the heaviest last year. So a little bit down, both because I guess it was maybe leaning towards the too heavy side last year, and also because it's a hilly course in Nice. And in terms of nutrition, it's been like I've been working with the weight for many years. So I sort of have some different tricks of which meals to put in and which one to take out. And typically it's avoiding both sugary meals and also food that has high fat or containing a lot of fat. So typically the most fatty meals I'm having is mackerel in tomatoes or salmon. That's like or like feta cheese in oil. But other than that, it's more carb based and a lot of vegetables and chicken. So that has been my main focus, and maybe a little bit smaller sizes for lunch and more like a controlled size meal for dinner, and also to be quicker on with longer carbohydrate sources straight after training. So I do use sports nutrition on the session, so I can still do 120, 160 grams per hour of Morton, as an example, in the training. But then after, I typically go more to like darker bread or stuff like that. That's working a little bit better in the stomach.
Okay. We've got a fun one for you, Gustav. How many watts have you saved with your new hair?
It is slight saving. It's more that even with the TT helmet on, I can have the airflow coming over. If you have too long hair, you're blocking the vents. So it's just a nice feeling. Also, me and Kristian, we have the team look, and Kristian wasn't able to copy my haircut, so I had to copy his.
And the annoying thing is that we actually did testing here as well, and he was gaining 15 watts with his haircut. Well, I didn't gain anything with mine. No, it's kidding.
All right, there are a handful of questions aimed at us, so I'm going to just take a stab at answering a few of those now. Actually, this is combined. So we've got, where's the Body Rocket device installed? It is a series of 4 sensors. So it actually replaces the risers between your base bar and your aero bar. And it goes between your seat post and your saddle, and then at the pedals. So we're in essence isolating the rider from the bike. If you think about how a wind tunnel works, and most people haven't, so I'll take a moment there. In a wind tunnel, you blow air across someone, of course, but there's a sensor under the wind tunnel that's measuring the horizontal force. So if you were to push on a rider's shoulder while they're sitting in a wind tunnel, the sensor under the wind tunnel would measure, if you push with 5 newtons of force, it would measure 5 newtons. Our system that isolates the rider from the bike would also measure that 5 newtons of force. So we are the only system that can directly measure that drag force. And of course, once those sensors are in the bike, you don't need to build a multi-million-dollar wind tunnel around you. You can create that aerodynamic drag force out on the road, which is how we do that. And then, so the follow-on question, so how can you explain then the aero difference between different helmets? So that is the same as a wind tunnel. You're looking at a CDA value, and that just tells you, in essence, it's sort of a normalized number that tells you how much force it's going to take to push, how much drag you're creating there. And so a lower number is faster, and so between the 2 helmets, you're just looking for the one that gives you the lowest CDA number.
And there also you have made this easier to see, to have put on, like, you can see what will this position save me over 40k on the bike, or over an Ironman course, which is like 180k. So you can also get like the time, if you don't know about how much it saves you in watts, if 17 watts doesn't tell you much, you can say that this will save you 90 seconds over the whole course. So then you can also make like a evaluation whether is it worth having the TT helmet if it feels warmer compared to having a road helmet.
An interesting one here. Don't know the name of the individual, it's anonymous, but what are your go-to methods for staying cool during long races in hot weather conditions? And how do you manage to hydrate without overhydrating?
Is there such a thing called overhydrating? I think it's hard to get enough liquid in during the bike ride. You're limited about the aid station and how much you can carry on the bike. So I wouldn't be worried about overhydrating on the bike, especially not in an Ironman in a hot condition. But the most important aspect of staying cool is maybe not directly staying cool, but doing the heat acclimatization before the event, and also pacing strategies. So if you're going out way too hard and get too warm too quickly, that will feel a lot worse than gradually heating. So what you normally feel as heat is actually the heat flux, or like the inflation of heat that goes up quickly. If you're just hot, like the same temperature over a long time, you don't feel the same heat. So you can feel like 39, but that's comfortable almost. So yeah, pacing strategy is definitely the way to go. So don't go out too fast, and also choose the garment and helmet and the position that is also not cooking you. But it's also nice to just carry or like grab a bottle of water and cool down a little bit on a run, especially. But that's our main strategies.
Okay, might be a nice follow-on question here from Daniel. Can you give some important tips to stay aero on the TT bike as possible? And I think Kristian talked a bit about this with some of his things. If you can't stay in the TT bars, then that's not the right position for you. But do you guys have any good tips for that?
Yes.
Shoulders in, head down. That's like that's how you're staying the fastest in the TT position. But to be more comfortable in the TT position, you have to ride more in the position, and also find a position that is comfortable. So a general tip is to raise it a bit more. That's what's considered normal in the past, so a bit higher handlebar, and get some cups that it's formed a little bit to your arms. I really like the high wall ones, because then you're kind of more stuck in a position. If you have the flat ones, you have to constantly fight to keep the arms there. But if you are locked in, it's much easier to relax the shoulders and stay there.
And I think I think, yeah, first of all, you need to have like a comfortable position. But when you have that, you can do training on the turbo and also do the training in the aero position there. And you can break it up to intervals. So you can do, for example, if you're riding 2.5 hours on the turbo, you can tell yourself that you want to do 5 times 30 minutes on in the air position, and you might, on the first one, you might feel it after like 22 minutes that you start feeling like discomfort, and then you try to just force yourself to stay there until 30 minutes, and then you do like 90 seconds or 2 minutes of rest. Even though it's an easy session, you can go up and out of the position, and then you can start again, do another 30 minutes in the position. And the second time, you typically feel the discomfort even earlier, so maybe after 18 minutes. And then you can think every time from 18 minutes and up to 30, that's like where you're really improving your comfort in the position, for the race. And then the same for the third one, you might feel it even earlier, but just make sure that you are then working in the position until 30 minutes.
Right. I think that it has answered another question. So Trevor asks, assuming power output is the same, how would you prioritize lowering, or would you prioritize lowering your CDA at the cost of comfort? And I think you've talked quite a bit about what that balance is and how you how you best address it. Ilya asks on KB Giant Trinity bike was. I'm going to come back to that after I understand it. Give me a second to read it. Can you discuss in wheel setup, for example, 4-spoke wheel versus disc wheel plus 4-spoke, difference in headwind versus side wind? I think from a CDA standpoint, it's always what's fast is best, but maybe hand it over to you guys to talk about the handling characteristics and weight and other choices that you would put into making that choice.
Generally, the 4-spoke has a lower profile, so about 45-50 millimeter front wheel, which is not that high actually. So usually that's more comfortable in the side wind. It is weighing a little bit more, so I have to consider it for Nice what to choose. But yeah, the 65 or 80 is worse usually in side wind. So yeah.
And also with the disc wear, it's not about the rules. So like in Kona, you're not allowed to wear disc wear, so then you're using the 4-spoke.
Right. Okay. We've got Anonymous here. Gustav, you mentioned that even though the terrain around Bergen is hilly and technical, you focus on riding efficiently, not just pushing power, but still going fast. I'm training for triathlons and based in Trondheim, where the terrain isn't as steep, but still far from flat with a lot of wind. How would you recommend developing efficient cycling skills for triathlon under those conditions?
Yeah, you have great conditions up there. So I think you're lucky to be able to have engaging bike trips. So using just something simple as Strava. I mean, conditions are different other days, but yeah, just try to get a sense of what is fast and what is not. Usually it's better to push slightly more in the uphills and then coast a little bit in the downhill. That is usually the most efficient way of riding in terms of power to speed. But in terms of what the body feels, it can be harder riding that way. And especially for triathletes who train a lot indoor, just going slightly above race pace would feel horrible. So then it might feel better for you to just keep the same pace or same power up and down the hill. But I think you would find out pretty quickly that yeah, pushing a bit more out of the corners and over the top of the hills is the fastest way to go. And maybe you can learn from Strava.
I've got one that maybe is moving slightly away from the body rocket system and aerodynamics. Question I'm going to open up to both of you. How much Nutella do you eat a week? Is a question from Benjamin. He's curious to find out how many tubs you go through, if any at all.
We don't have Nutella in Norway. It's Nugatti here. It's the premium version. I I eat a little bit, like in the mornings before a hard session. I would sometimes do it, but it's definitely not 1 tub a week.
Like I'll tend to, when I'm in like I was in Texas, I was mixing it in with my oatmeal. So I was having like this proper source of good carbohydrates, and then I was warming it up in the microwave with milk, and then putting on like a big spoon of Nutella on top to get this chocolate flavor. But yeah, it's in a balanced yeah, the nutrition meal plan.
People are just congratulating you or saying how lean you look, so you don't have to make any excuses. You can eat a little bit of Nutella, it's okay.
Yeah, maybe we used to have one per week, and now it's only a half one. But like the Nutella and like it's good to just add in like for an extra like slice of bread and stuff when you feel tired from the training, or like if you really feel like you need quick carbohydrates. So then I try to use it on days where I really feel like, okay, today I need some o- okay sources of carbohydrates. So then like half find sort of 50-50 dark bread and Nutella is like a good mix to just eat straight from the pool before I'm going for a run or something.
Perfect. I think we've got time for one more question if you've got the Q&A section open, Eric.
Yeah, I've okay. I'll just grab the one that's in front of me. So, do you have any problem training with all the sensors, or do you also train sometimes without them? And I guess I'll field this because Kristian, you alluded to it before. While we've had just the beta systems, we've come to you and done training sessions. We have our first production systems that are out with some beta testers right now, and athletes are using them full time. But as you mentioned, you're looking forward to being able to keep them on your bike full time. Do you want to just talk about any effect of having the sensors on the bikes?
Yeah, so the sensor itself is no, like you don't feel it at all. Like the bike is still as stiff as it was, and there is more, but like you just have to make sure you are charging it once in a while. But if I don't want to look at the numbers, if I just want to go like as you did old school, all I do then is that I'm switching to another screen. I might just have the map and the heart rate and the cadence up. So it's very easy to sort of put all the data and the testing you're doing like behind, but I think it's great to just collect it in the background. So then I can sort of after like 3 months later or 1 month later, I can see how much did I actually work with staying in the position during the camp, or so you don't have to look at the numbers always in the session, and then you can do specific sessions where you are focusing on the CDA numbers again or doing testing.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that's a good note to wrap things up on. Really appreciate you guys' time today. I hope everyone enjoyed this. And yeah, wish you the best of luck in your next races, and looking forward to seeing you when we come and bring you your production sensors in July.
Thank you very much. Good to see everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining. We'll send out an email. This session is recorded, so if you do want to watch it back, we will get that out over to you tomorrow. If you have any questions following the webinar or anything around sort of the investment, please do let us know, and me and Eric will be happy to field any questions or jump on any calls as well to speak to you guys. So thank you again for your time. Again, I think from everyone at Body Rocket, everyone in the chat, we wish you both the best in the race season going forward. And yeah, look forward to seeing the progress and the wins that are going to be coming. So yeah, all the best, and thank you for joining us.
Ciao.
Cheers. Thank you. Enjoy your evenings, everyone.